Collingwood do not have an abundance of draft stocks this year, starting with pick 32 in the second round of the draft. So, can Collingwood hit in the national draft is the big question. Outside of father-son options in Nick Dacos, Darcy Moore, so on and so forth, or as well as academy players. So that's the narrative around Collingwood's draft history, but I will just gently remind you that Collingwood have done quite well in the mid-season draft with your John Nobles, Ash Johnsons, and that rookie draft. Jared Blair, Marley Williams, Mason Cox, Myercheck, should I keep on going? So while yes, we haven't had much success in that national draft, I think we've done quite well in others to compensate, as well as the trade window as well. I would argue we've done quite well for the most part. So with pick 32, what are we looking for? I think we need a true key-sized tall forward. I think we can trade for a decent ready-made defender in Mark Keane. If John Noble goes to Gold Coast, maybe Gold Coast are kind enough to lend us pick 20 and we can just do a straight swap with Mark Keane or something along those lines would be in consideration. Are we on here? We are on. And yeah, so that's probably the idea behind what I would like. And with midfields, we can hang on to maybe a Sam Berry in the trade period as well. That would be an amazing coup if we can get him. But I think it's time to get a really young, raw, key-sized tall forward to make our project at Collingwood, essentially. I don't feel like we have that in the VFL up and coming. We have a lot of mid-aged, or not a lot, but we had a few players that are getting to that sort of middle-aged territory. Reef McInnes is not necessarily a key-sized tall forward. Kruger's probably the only one in that category. Big Illaru Smith is more of a rack prospect, and then Oscar Steen has potential to be a forward as well, and Josh Eyre. But let's get into some of the best options I think that are currently available in the draft. And we'll start on a bit of the smaller side when it comes to the key tall stocks. We've got Jonty Faull from the GWV Rebels, 195 centimetres. Now, Jonty Faull spent some time on the sidelines with a back injury, so there is potential bargain value with Jonty because of his injury and whether, I guess, clubs want to mitigate the risk around certain injuries like the back. We've seen Jamie Elliott with his back issues, Jack Bytel coming from the draft with existing back injuries. So it can definitely haunt and linger around certain players. But that aside, he's come back in the last couple of months and he's done really well at Coates Talent League level. He kicked 3 goals in the National Champs in a singular game where he showed pretty much the full package. He's a really good one-on-one player and knows how to manipulate his body, the craft in those one-on-one contests. So really knows how to work his play under, draw free kicks, and that was something that was very evident in, I guess, the games that I've watched him play. And then his ground ball work is also something that is desirable upon these taller sized players. So he definitely has a taste to get down and dirty and hit the contest hard at the ground ball level. I feel like out of all things, his field kicking was not the best and would often miss targets, whether that comes down to composure or skill level, I'm not too sure. But one thing is for certain, his eye for, I guess, the goals in open play is something that was very clear to me. Being able to kick check side goal, snaps, dribbles off the ground, running into goal. Like, he just has, I guess, different ways to impact the scoreboard outside of his contested marking bag that he has with him. This next one I'm really interested in as a Collingwood fan and really do hope he slides to the pick 32 mark. I'm not too sure where that lands and how it all transpires with teams having father-son picks and academy picks before we even get to pick 32, so does it even end up being pick 32? I'm not too sure. But Thomas Sims, standing at 200 centimetres from Northern Knights. Anthony Rocker at the start of the preseason was shot for options when it came to key tall forward stocks, and Mr. Thomas Sims was nowhere in the conversations in the draft around March time this year. Things have changed since then. He's had a massive couple games in the Coates Talent League, kicking 7 against the Chargers, 5 against the Western Jets where Thomas McGuan plays. He's kicked 22 goals in 11 games. He's really good aerially. He's quite built, at least in, I guess, the lower half portion of his body, which suggests that maybe his development can be fast-tracked and could be rushed to AFL level a bit quicker than the other players, but shows a lot of potential, has really good kicking actions when lining up for goal, and likes to take marks at the highest point, which is something we love to see. He did pinch hit in the ruck in some of those contests throughout the Coates Talent League. So it shows he does have a bit of a tank, if need be, to roll up and play throughout the middle and also go and swing deep and kick some goals. And he's certainly done that this year. Cal Toomey has him around the 30 mark in this draft. And geez, I guess if there's ever been a player to take a risk on, and I don't know what you consider a risk, but this is a free swing at pick 30, 32. If he falls that deep, we have to take him 200 centimeters. He's that perfect prospect that I was just, I guess, alluding to before regarding we've seen someone young, raw, actually key tall size, not in between like Kruger or Reef McInnes and so on and so forth. I want a genuine key tall that we can sort of invest and follow along the way. Now, next up is Job Shanahan, standing at 194 centimeters. And I'll be honest, when I was putting together this video, he hadn't played his VFL games for Essendon, where he's gone on and kicked 6 goals in 2 games, and then on the weekend has kicked 6 goals against the Murray Bushrangers. So I highly, highly doubt he makes it to pick 32, but he was a part of the context of this video, so we'll keep him in there and maybe give you guys a little heads up as to what to expect for other clubs in the league and the Job Shanahans of the world. But took the most contested marks in the national champs as well and has potential to be a swingman. So he's going to be, or has potential to be a gun at AFL level. But as we know with these key tall forwards, key tall defenders, there is that risk that they just flop. So that's why you see this draft in particular, you'll see a lot of inside mids and half-back liners, I guess, go early in the draft relative to the key tall forward stocks. But with pick 32 and beyond, I think the pickings are slim when it comes to half-back rebounding defenders. But we do have one from the Sandy Dragons standing at 181 centimeters tall, and that's Harrison Oliver. A rebounding defender, but from what I've seen in his games, he doesn't necessarily have that line-breaking pass. It's a lot of safe passes down the wing, just being that connector and getting it to the better ball users. I guess in the Vic Metro side, he had Toby Travalia by his side. So playing that second string rebound defender behind Travalia, and he's going in the top 10 potentially. So I'm not sure what his ceiling is like when it comes to his ball use necessarily, but what was glaringly obvious for me throughout the games that I saw Harrison Oliver playing was his intent at ground ball and the way he hits the contest. Like, he's not scared to put his head over the ball. He's not scared to run into someone, and he's very clean below the knees. And we say, like I said, he's not a line breaker, but he's not exactly a bad ball user, if that makes any sense. And 16 disposals per game at 83% disposal efficiency throughout the national champs probably talks that more. Like I said, he's more of a safe type of kicker. That's the way I like to describe him for the time being. And he's around that pick 30 mark in some of the Phantom drafts. So someone we would consider, but probably one of my lesser options at this point. If Noble goes, it doesn't help our case. It probably forces our hand more to try and go for someone like Oliver. But at the same time, we've got TJ, Di Mattia, and Will Parker, who could potentially fulfill that role that Noble is currently occupying. We saw Will Parker have a decent game against the Demons, so that's good. And then lastly, we have Matt Whitlock from the Murray Bushrangers, 199 centimeters, brother of Jack Whitlock, who is another highly touted draft prospect who plays as a forward. Matt Whitlock has played as a forward for the most part this year, kicking 19 goals in 11 games at Coates level. However, last week he played against the Stingrays and he collected 24 disposals and 11 marks in defense. So he has that ability to be a swingman, and again, one of those players that if we find him sitting at pick 32 still available on the draft table, take him. Absolutely take him. Potential, his brother's a gun, so he's not too far down the line from where his brother's at. So I think ultimately, if I had to choose one or two of the players that I've mentioned, I'd probably be looking at Matt Whitlock or Thomas Sims. It's always hard to get a gauge with the draft with how players slide, and a club might be really keen on someone, so they take him earlier than first expected. But this is, I guess, the sample size we have at the moment, And we're still a couple months away from the draft. So I'm sure I'll do this one again and we can revisit it. But these are the players that we have available as close as possible to pick 32 right now. Go Pies.